Hey, what is up everyone? Today we finally get a chance to take a look at Elden Ring, the Convergence Mod. Yes, this is the alpha test now and they finally released it. So yeah, it's going through its issues and I'll explain some towards the end that I've personally went through. But let's talk about the mod. When you first choose your character, of course, there's not one there. So you have to create a character, then you go down to your origin. Now there are different characters here to choose from with different stats, of course, and different spells. And when I mean different spells, it's completely overhauled. Like they've done some crazy stuff, switched some things up, and actually have made some really interesting spells. If you guys want to take a look at this mod, download it and install it yourself, I will leave a link down below, as well as a link to their Discord if you guys want to join it. So when you load in, right away, you're going to notice that there's a glowing door, as well as there's these items on the right that we can pick up right away, such as the flask and the crafting kit. So you do not need to purchase those. And not only this, if you run by certain items, it will automatically pick it up, which is a cool thing to add, because I honestly would love to see that in the real game. And I'm sure some of you hardcore Dark Souls fans would be like, nah, we don't need that. That's just going to make things way too easy. And to some degree, I would have to agree with that. So anyways, with this character, we're going to be talking about the Volcanist. What's great about this is when you spawn down with each character, it has a unique location that you can spawn at. So you're not going to spawn at the typical graveyard location that you normally would right before you reach the first step. There are these chests that are nearby that you can pick items out of. Well, basically they're the same items that you are pretty much spawned with, like the spells and whatnot. Sometimes it may be different because I was on a different character, and when I opened up a chest, it gave me a new spell. So, again, this is during the alpha test, so I'm sure there's a lot more that they are planning to add, yet this is what we have for now. Now, the spells are quite unique because if you take a look at Lava Dart, this thing's amazing when you shoot it out. It leaves one of those magma pools on the ground. And speaking of magma pool, if you take a look at this Molten Stride spell, it's amazing because it leaves behind a magma pool trail, and you can run around circles around the enemy, and this does trap them within it, pretty much inflicting damage over time. And yes, they can get out of it, yet if they're slow enemies like this one, then it will take some time for them to get out of it. And I'm pretty sure with this magma pool, it does slow them down. And what I would like to mention is that I'm not too sure, I'm pretty positive that these items have been switched up a bit for the staff there. I don't believe this exists in the game, as well as the sword that I am holding on to. So these are unique items, and it's pretty cool the way that they have switched up some of these, including one that I'm going to talk about later on, which is very similar to the Black Knife Blade, except I believe it's called the Gold Knife Blade. I might be wrong on that, but we'll talk about that later on. Next up, this is the Stormcaller. So with this, there are some interesting spells, such as the Storm Armament. This does exactly what you would think it does. It pretty much wraps this wind around your sword, as well as if you take a look at Storm Gust, this does shoot a blast of air towards the enemy, potentially stunning them or knocking them down, such
Honestly,
as the though, after using these spells, I am craving some DLC. So whenever a Shadow of the Erdtree wants to come out, they can absolutely tell us at any time, and hopefully we have something similar to what they have introduced in this mod. Of course, they're not, connected by any means, the modders and the developers at Elden Ring, but it'd be really cool if they took a look at some of these things and implemented them in the game. I would absolutely love that. This next one is going to be the Glint Sorcerer. We, of course, are going to spawn somewhere near the academy, and of course there are some chests nearby that we can open up. There are some chests that don't have anything in them, but this left one did. I'm not too sure if that's intended or if they're going to add something more later on in the future. There are these items that you can use that will give you some additional spells. For example, right here I picked up Energy Shell, which I do not have on this list. Now you might be wondering, what does Energy Shell do? Let me explain. So what it does is pretty much just enhance your defense. That's really it, and I don't think there's anything new spell-wise that has been added yet. I'm assuming yet because this is the alpha version. There might be some additional spells, and some of these might just be tweaked a bit, but for now we just have Energy Shell, and it's basic, really. It just does what it does. We are now moving on towards the Starcaller. This has a gravity short sword, as well as a staff that we can then use to cast down some spells. We of course have Gravity Well. This is in the game. I'm not too sure if it's been enhanced too much there. It looks like it has been. I'm honestly not too sure. If you guys want to let me know, you can do so by commenting down below. Continuing on towards Shatter Earth. This is very similar to Shatter Earth, of course. It just has that gravity effect. Then we continue on towards Rock Burst, and this essentially just shoots the rocks from underneath or breaks the ground, and then it forces itself up. And if you guys have not noticed just yet, most of these characters have some interesting outfits customized so that it does have a unique appearance. The next one we are going to talk about is the Underworld Mage. This is by far one of my favorite because of the spells. There are 3 unique spells, such as the Frozen Cragbolt you saw prior, the Cragbolt Bubbles that you just saw now, and then of course I have the next one that I'm going to show you here soon. We have the Ice Lightning Sword as well as a staff to help us cast these down. And the third and final spell is Frozen Lightning Armament, and this does again exactly what you would expect. We have this Lightning Ice Sword, just amazing. It gives me this total Chidori vibes from Naruto when I was a kid, and I used to watch that quite a lot. And it's crazy that I'm kind of getting those similar vibes to all that. Chidori, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. So before we continue on towards the next character, I do want to show you this. I 100% do not believe this is in the game, and it's amazing that they've added this to this specific spot. I believe there is a boss here as well as at the top portion, and dude, this is pretty cool. I mean, just the way it looks, it's beautiful. You have the wildlife running around. So far, I'm only showing you one of the many changes that have been made in this game by the Convergence Mod developers. If you guys want to check them out, again, I will leave a link down below. Moving on towards the Necromancer. It's what you would expect. We are going to be necromancing. There is a unique Blighted Armament, which does give your weapon blight, and it's insane. There are these smaller enemies that I'm showing you an example with, but holy crap, what is going on with that torch? He was just blocking all my attacks for the most part. And what I mentioned earlier, when you can pick up items automatically, you can tell right there I picked up the root without even clicking the button. If we want to talk about spells for a brief moment, I think the only unique one on this list that has been changed completely is going to be the Armament, because that does not exist in the game. We have Fia's Mist, which does, and we have the same with Tibia's Summons. It's the same situation. The next one that we're going to talk about is Frost Witch. We have the Frozen Armament, and not only that, there is another spell here that's pretty cool, and I'll show you what that is if I can swap over to it here. There we go. We have Ice Dart, and this essentially just throws out a frozen ice spear out of your staff. We have Freezing Mist, which is similar to Fia's Mist, and also similar to a Ashes of War that you can apply to one of your swords. The next one is going to be Aberrant Heretic. This essentially is just like your Briar type of class, right? So you're going to have those spells that are very similar, and some additional ones such as Body of the Briar, which does pretty much fill your whole body up with these thorns, and you can then cast down some other spells like the Armament version of it. I'm honestly not a big fan of the vanilla version of Briars of Sin or any of those spells specifically, because they're just not good. Except for the modded version, this is way better than the vanilla version. This next one is going to be Prophet, except he ate a Firestone from Pokemon, and now he essentially is going to be called the Fire Prophet. And that's literally what it's called. The only unique spell here is Flame Whirl, and it absolutely is crap. I was not a big fan of it. I actually ended up getting wrecked by this guy. The next character on this list is going to be the Fundamentalist. Honestly, I had a blast with this one because if you take a look at rune shards, it sends a bunch of these shards that are glowing, and then they do explode after a short delay. There is the Sacred Ground, and I do believe that one is in the current game. There might have been some things adjusted with it, and Rejection, of course, is in the game as well. Oh, and if you guys recall from earlier when I talked about the blade, specifically the Black Knife blade, well, here we have Blade of Gold, and it does the same animation as the Black Knife, except the only difference here is that we do not have the Black Flame effect going on. Instead, what you have is a golden rune effect that you would typically see on Radagon when he casts down his spells. This is awesome, and I think they did a great job with this. And continuing on, this is going to be my least favorite character. This is the Bestial Devout, I believe it's called. And this is just pretty much what you would have in the normal game, except they have Stone Throne, which is different to some degree. It's very similar to another spell in the game. So, yeah, not my favorite, but it's in the game, or at least it's in the modded version. You guys might like this if you're going to attempt at trying it. I'm just not a big fan of it. If we take a look at the next character here, we're going to be looking at the Dragon Cultist. We have the Honed Bolt, which is already in the game, and then Lightning Channel. This is pretty neat. What you can tell already is that I'm holding this lightning in my hand for a long periods of time, at least until my FP bar is consumed. We can then, of course, drink a flask to fill it up. There is the other spell within this, and honestly, nothing's been changed too much with this next one, and I'll show you it here soon. So if you take a look on the screen here, you're going to see that this Lightning Channel does indeed inflict the Lightning debuff. We can also use the other spell that I just talked about. This is going to be the Lightning Spear, and this is pretty much the same spell in the game. Again, this is alpha version of it. I'm sure it's going to be changed up here soon. Maybe it'll do something different. Honestly, that's my best guess. If we go on towards the next character right here, you're going to see that it looks like we're at the village, when in fact we're not. And the only way to spawn here is if you choose the Godskin Celebrant class. When you have arrived, you will see that you have 3 spells, including the Black Flame Blade and a unique one called the Black Flame Dart. There is also the Black Flame Burst, which essentially is like Catch Flame or O-Flame. We also have the ability to use the Black Flame for extended periods of time. We honestly need the Black Flame to have increased duration because in the vanilla version, it's only 7 seconds. It's complete crap, so they definitely need to increase it like these modders have done in this modded version. These are the only 2 unique spells because of course we have the Flame of Frenzy. This is in the vanilla version of the game, so it's already there and nothing's been changed with this. I'm sure they will do some sort of change with it in the future because, again guys, just throwing this out throughout the video, this is the alpha version. The next class that we're going to take a look at is the Blood Initiate. There's 2 spells here that are unique, such as the Blood Seeker and the Siphon of the Formless. This Siphon the Formless is going to allow you to heal yourself midway through combat by using your FP, and why is this not in the game? Continuing on towards the next class, which is going to be based on poison. This is the Servant of Rot. What you're able to do is cast down a poison orb as well as a poison mist. Again, this is similar to Fia's mist, except again this is going to apply a different status, such as the poison effect. If you're using the one that we've used prior, which is going to be magic, that does its own, but for this it's going to apply the poison effect on this specific enemy. So what's really cool is that you can apply this to your blade as well because there is a armament for that. And just a side note here, I could honestly see From Software adding this into Elden Ring. It seems like something that a lot of us would like to use, and for me this is a no-brainer. Why is this not in the game? So maybe this is something we can see in Shadow of the Erdtree. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about the Mystic class. The spell that you just saw prior allowed me to send these enemies into a deep sleep. There is the Dream Siphon. Essentially, once these fellas are asleep, you can then throw that down and suck the life out of them. Right here, you're going to see it, and man, that's a beautiful blue right there. And yeah, man, so there you have it. This is the Convergence mod that you can then... And there you go, guys. This is what the Convergence mod consists of right now. There's a lot of changes that are going to be made in the future for this specific mod, such as more landscapes. I'm sure they're going to probably add some more stuff there, probably some more spells. Again, this is the alpha version of this mod, so just note that down because not everything has been added just yet, but this is probably one of the biggest mods yet in Elden Ring. So there you go, guys. Hope you have enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe, turn those notifications on, and if you have any questions, leave them down below. I will try to reply back within the first hour or two, and I appreciate everyone that's currently subscribed and is a member. See you all in the next video.